Good afternoon and welcome to the March Ordinary Council meeting. I will now hand over to Councillor Greg James to perform a welcome to country.
Thank you, Mayor Sally and my fellow councillors. Firstly, I pay respect to our ancestors and I acknowledge our elders, both past, present and emerging. I acknowledge the Yorta Nations and all its people whose land we meet on today. So on behalf of the Elders Council, the 16 family groups, the 8 respected tribes that share as custodians of the land, I say a very warm welcome to this country and land. Thank you, Mayor.
Councillor James. Item 2, acknowledgement. We, Greater Shepparton City Council, acknowledge the Yorta peoples of the land which now comprises Greater Shepparton. We pay our respects to their tribal elders. We celebrate their continuing culture and we acknowledge the memory of their ancestors. Item 3, privacy notice. This public meeting is being streamed live via our Facebook page and made available for public access on our website along with the official minutes of this meeting. All care is taken to maintain your privacy. However, as a visitor in the public gallery, it is assumed that your consent is given in the event that your image is broadcast to the public. It is also assumed that your consent is given to the use and disclosure of any information that you share at the meeting, including personal or sensitive information, to any person who accesses recordings or minutes. And Terry, we welcome you to the gallery. Item 4, governance principles. Council considers that the recommendations contained in this agenda gives effect to the overarching governance principles of Section 9(2) of the Local Government Act 2020. These principles are as followed, and councillors, they're listed from 1 to 9 on page 5 of the agenda. Item 5, apologies nil received. Item 6, declarations of conflict of interest. Councillors, do we have any conflicts this afternoon? Very good. Item 7, confirmation of minutes of the previous meetings. Are there any minutes of the meetings opposed? Any minutes of the previous meetings opposed? No. Can I please have a councillor move that? There is a recommendation. Councillor Adam.
Thank you, Mayor Sally. I move that the minutes of the 27th of February 2024 council meeting and 19th of March 2024 additional council meeting as circulated be confirmed.
Thank you, councillor. Can I have a councillor second that motion?
Second that motion, Mayor Sally.
Councillors, all in favour? Motion carried and opposed. Item 8, public question time, nil received. Item 9, deputations and petitions, nil received. Councillors, we now go to page 7 of the agenda. Item 10.1, community planning policy update. There is a recommendation. Can I please have a councillor put that forward as a motion? Thank you, Councillor Summer.
Thank you, Mayor Sally. I'll move that the council adopt the community planning policy as attached.
Thank you. Can I have a councillor second that motion, please? Councillor Adam.
And the motion. Thank you, Mayor Sally.
Councillor Summer, would you like to speak to the motion?
Just to say that it's an important policy that ensures each small town locality remains unique and individual to themselves. This is us enabling them to reach the goals that they set for themselves and strive to be a better place. So I support it. It's something that council couldn't do if we had told them what to do. It's quite enabling and it's a very positive step.
Thank you, Councillor Summer. Councillor Adam, would you like to speak?
Thanks. Very briefly, thank you, Mayor Sally. Yes, I just reiterate the words of Councillor Summer here. One interesting part of the policy is that council, the updated policy will note the community plans rather than adopt them. So that's a bit of a change. So reflects our commitment to these communities to help guide them through actually formulating these community plans. Gives them a lot more guidance, I think, that makes the plan clearer and more achievable.
Thank you, Councillor Adam. Are there any councillors that would like to speak against the motion? Would like to speak for the motion? No. Councillors Councillor Summer, any closing comments?
No, thank you, Mayor Sally.
Councillors, we will now go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried, unopposed. Councillors, we go to page 11 of the agenda, item 10.2, Community Asset Committee Annual Report 21/22. There is a recommendation. Can I please have a councillor put that forward as a motion? Councillor Latson.
Thank you, Mayor Sally. I'd like to move the recommendation on page 11 of the agenda, that the recommendation as reads, that the council note the financial and performance statements of Council 17 Community Asset Committees for the 2021/22 financial year as attached.
Have a councillor second that motion, please. Councillor Dobson.
I'll second the motion.
Councillor Latson, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Sally. I'd just like to read out some of the Community Asset Committee achievements for this recommendation. I'll go through the list as printed. Arcadia Recreation Reserve and Community Centre. There's Christmas and Australia Day events, beautification of native garden beds, interest in future planning of area. Bombartha Recreation Reserve, they've got a new committee, established weekly social gatherings, bookings increasing, involving training, social and election use, actively applying for applicable grants, floods impacted cricket club usage, future goals, multi-purpose courts, shade sail and fencing for playground, toilet to include disability access and lighting, Canyambo Hall held their Christmas barbecue for community, CWA a regular user, first community lunch hosted with success, White Ants active and damaged the stage and floorboards to be repaired when ants not active, Central Park Recreation Reserve, Grounds Committee partly funded plans for new change rooms, Football Club received grants to install nets behind the goals, Tennis Club have sourced funding for upgrades to courts and fences, Kingutna Recreation Reserve and Community Centre, update of drainage around Oval, Sarangol Recreation Reserve and Community Centre, reinstate meal deals again, interest in holding fun and new events for the community, Tukey Memorial Hall, increase wedding, engagement and birthday celebrations, line dancing and live events, garden beds finished, split systems installed through grant funding, white ant damage to be repaired when ants activity subsides, Tukey Recreation Reserve and Community Centre, entrance gate project completed, new water tanks installed, new sprinkler system in Oval, netball courts resurfaced, concreting between centre and netball courts, water fountain installed, hallway and main room repainted. Off to the Harston Hall, committee gathered to farewell 2 resignations in the committee, CWA regular users of the meeting room and car club meet regularly. I'll turn to page 14 of the agenda. Caramomas Hall and Recreation Reserve, chairs, tables, new flooring coverings in cloakroom, lockout blinds and all funded by grants. Second-hand kitchen installed, kitchen benches painted and hot water system installed. Plumbing updated and extra power points installed. Crockery and kitchen equipment purchased. 7 events held. Planted memorial tree for 60th anniversary. White ant damage in tennis pavilion repaired. Off to Katandra West community facilities. Football, netball and cricket club Thursday night tea is well supported. Repair works completed in facility. Cricket club's renovations to wicket. Kyla District Hall. New committee formed, gained new regular dance hirer. Measures to cease rising damp successful. New curtains in tennis club rooms, eaves repainted, new vacuum cleaner purchased and windows have been cleaned. Lemnos Recreation Reserve, Pine Lodge Cricket Club has managed to field 5 teams over the summer. Tennis Club has midweek ladies team that play all year long and a Saturday team plays in summer. Rooms not suitable for functions but are used during these sporting events. Murchison Community Centre, curtain tracks in the main hall repaired, successful in application for energy audit grant. The group in the Memorial Hall, installation of new remote control stage curtains, new stage carpet and fridge, improvements for the centenary next year included the painting of hall. Tully Group in the Recreation and Reserve and Community Centre, community use through sporting events, successful in grant application to replace chairs in the main pavilion. And finally, Talambo Recreation Reserve and Community Centre, advocate for tennis court repairs / upgrade, access for community during floods, holding barbecue for community support, looking at increasing community involvement. I like to highlight these because of just how important it is for our smaller communities that there's committees that are volunteer run and they're banding together advocating for projects outside of the Shepparton CBD. So just shows just a smidgen of what's going on in some of the local communities, and I encourage those that are out there that are looking to stand for council and passionate about their community, go into the ward structure, you know, look at what you can do for the community, not what the community can do for you. Thank you, Mayor Zali.
Thank you, Councillor Hudson. Councillor Dobson.
Yeah, out of the 17 committees, 16 from various areas around the Goulburn Valley, and these committees have been delegated to manage specific council-owned community facilities and recreation reserves. And I want to really point to one in particular that I was a little bit involved with, along with Louise Mitchell, our one of our directors, was out of Bunbartha, and I remember going out to Bunbartha, and there was a lot of stress in the community out there regarding the floods. And Louise had a hell of a time, if I can put it that way, in answering a lot of questions, which she did magnificently. And I think, and what she said on that occasion was that we need the community to get together, start formulating their plans, come back to council and tell the council what they need to do. And one of them was in the area of flood, and we went out to flood, 2 or 3 of us. So that's where, you know, the floods impacted the cricket club usage, and it's a very important piece of real estate out there. So I congratulate Louise. In my opinion, that's her discussions was the catalyst in getting this underway. So as has been stated, there's 16 different communities, none of which are in Shepparton, and I hate to say it, but it just goes to prove that we're not only looking at the major towns, but we're looking at all the districts as well.
Very good, thank you, councillor Dobson. Are there any councillors that would like to speak against the motion? Councillors like to speak for?
Thank you. All of the comments from Councillor Ladson and Councillor Dobson are very fair. We do absolutely recognise and celebrate the achievements of our asset committees, our community asset committees and the work that they have done. I do want to just highlight that this report is for the 2021-2022 financial year, which may seem a little bit odd coming to the council meeting, what is essentially 2 years later. But the reason for that is that it did come to a council briefing in June 2023. So, you know, in a year ago, basically, within the expected time frame. And so we have seen this document previously, but the reason it now comes to the council meeting is that it has been deemed needing to be formally recognised at a council meeting. So that is why it is coming to us today, even though the date of it is a little bit older. And we will see another one for the previous come to us in the coming months, which I expect and hope will highlight the next lot of works that have happened since the ones that Councillor Ladson did share. So looking forward to the next report, but absolutely echoing the comments celebrating the works of our asset committees, and for anyone just questioning that the financial year, that is the reason.
Very good, thank you, councillor Spinks. Are there any other councillors that would like to speak to the motion? Councillor Murphy.
Thank you very much, Ms. Harley. Just in regards to, I won't get Councillor Ladson to repeat it, there was a couple of things I missed there, but well covered, because I think it is important that each individual community is recognised, and it is volunteer based. I mean, if we don't know about it, then we can't act upon it. And hats off to the community or the council consultants who go out there and work with the communities to find out what the actual issues are with these. So, as one of my councillors would say, that this is where the rubber hits the road in terms of council addressing community issues for council-owned assets, but community administered and community used. They know what they need out there, and we're listening, and therefore this is the result.
Very good, thank you, councillor Brophy. Are there any other councillors that would like to speak to the motion? Councillor Adam.
Thank you, Ms. Harley. Yeah, I just want to reiterate that this recommendation that the council note the financial and performance statements of the council's 17 community asset committees for the 2021-2022 final year. And it's important that we do this each year because, and I'll read this out, in accordance with the instrument of delegation by the CEO to each of the community asset committees, the community asset committees are required to prepare financial performance statements to the CEO annually. And in the process of doing that, they're actually acting as a pseudo advisory committee as well. As other councillors have referred to, they tell us what's happening really. Without this report, we don't know what's actually going on to a degree. They are fundamentally a management committee. They manage that asset for us on our behalf and obviously for themselves. So the fact that we get this annual report is really crucial to them moving forward in their requests and their aspirations for their own facility. And it also gives us a chance to make an assessment of how they're being managed. I mean, from what I'm reading and what Councillor Ladson read out, they're doing a great job, but we need to keep an eye on it as well. So if there's some other way we can help and assist them do a better job, well, this report facilitates us doing that.
Very good, thank you, councillor Adam. Are there any other councillors that would like to speak to the motion? Yeah, councillor Summer.
I'd just like to thank the volunteers. They do tireless work and they're not being paid for it. If we had to pay for the value that we get out of what these committees provide, it would cost ratepayers quite a lot and possibly end up with a lower quality result. So thank you very much to the volunteers. Obviously, you're doing a great job, and I will look forward to reading the next annual report in June.
Very good, thank you, councillor Summer. Any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Councillor Ladson, any closing comments?
Thank you, Mayor Sally.
Now go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried, unopposed. Councillors, we now go to page 17 of the agenda, item 11.1, contracts awarded under delegation, February 2024. There is a recommendation. Can I please have the councillor put that forward as a motion? Councillor James.
Thank you, Mayor Sally. I'll move the recommendation 1.1, contracts awarded under delegation, February 2024, on page 17 of our agenda. And I'll read out the recommendation that the council, 1, note the contracts awarded under delegation pursuant to the process for the reporting period. And number 2, note the requests advertised but not yet awarded.
Thank you, councillor James. Can I have a councillor second that motion, please?
I'll second that.
Councillor James, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor Sally. The first part of the recommendation, there is 2 contracts awarded under delegated authority during the period from the 1st of February to the 13th of March. Major culvert renewal, Katandra Main Road, Telegripna, awarded to O'Loughlin Excavations Proprietary Limited, and that's a fairly significant contract as well. The second one was Yana Gertie, the shared path 1 and 2. Waters reserved to the Boulevard in Shepparton, awarded to Cleves Earth and Draining Proprietary Limited. The second part of the recommendation is for requests for tenders advertised but not yet awarded. There are 6 contracts, Mayor Sally, in that process. 3 tenders are closed, the other 3 close this week and early next week. Just also to point out, in the bottom part of those tenders, there were 4 previously advertised tenders that are no longer proceeding to award. The first one was the major culvert renewals, Merrigan. This tender is no longer proceeding to award as submissions exceeded the allocated budget. Council officers are now reviewing the scope and will look to re-tender with a refined scope as soon as possible. The second one of that is Tatura Park Western Oval lighting upgrade. This tender is no longer proceeding to award as external funding to complete the project has been unsuccessful. Project was conditional under external funding approval. Council officers are now in the process of applying for alternative funding to deliver this project later in the year. The third one under that category is the Ardmona Reserve Recovery Centre upgrade. This tender is no longer proceeding to award as external funding to complete the project has been unsuccessful. And the last one in that is the Animal Management After Hours Emergency Service. No confirming tender submissions were received. Council officers are now reviewing the specifications and will re-tender for these services in the coming months. Thank you, Mayor Sally.
Thank you. Councillor Spinks, would you like to speak to the motion?
I think councillor James covered all, so no, thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Are there any councillors that would like to speak against the motion? Any councillors that would like to speak for the motion? Councillor Summer.
I just want to say how great it is to have these back in the agenda. For whatever reason, there were months and months with none of these, and this was my favourite part of the agenda that I'd turn to straight away and have a look at, because a lot of these don't come past our desk individually. They're done by delegation, and it's quite a high delegation, so it's a really useful tool for myself to know what we're doing in the community without necessarily having to be told during a briefing. So I'm very happy that it's looking healthy right now.
Very good.
Just a point of clarification that the item is always in the agenda. It's just that there hasn't been any tenders in it for a couple of months leading up to it.
Correct.
Just to make
That's exactly what I meant.
Absolutely.
Thank you, councillor Summer. Are there any other councillors that would like to speak to the motion? Any closing comments, councillor James?
No, just to agree with councillor Summer, it was that period where we didn't, we had relatively few contracts, which, again, that says we are fulfilling our obligations in regards to the community needs. And it is good to see these contracts back on our agenda, and we're in a position to tick them off too as well. And also, importantly, that it's been shared around our regions as well. So looking at the tenders advertised, they are a good balance across our regions too as well, which is really encouraging to see.
Very good.
Thank you, Mayor.
Councillor James. Councillors, we will now go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion passed. Unopposed. Councillors, we now go to page 20 of the agenda, item 11.2, February 2024 monthly financial report. There is a recommendation. Can I please have a councillor put that forward as a motion? Councillor Dobson.
Thank you, Mayor Sally. I'll move that the council note the February 2024 monthly financial report as attached.
Thank you. Can I please have a councillor second that motion? Councillor Abdullah. Councillor Dobson, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, it's pretty well steady as she goes, Mayor Sally. The projected full-year deficit is going to be $5.1 million. However, at the moment, we're operating on a surplus of 17.3 million. It's all to do with the accounting process, which sometimes defies me, but we'll move on. The council has completed 52% of the second quarter adopted forecast projected capital works, and this includes the now completed delivery of works to repair council roads that were impacted by the October 2022 floods. And I must say, it's an understatement to say that the issues of COVID and the floods continue to be, front of mind to all councils and council management, obviously, when we're looking at the finances. So much so to say that our expected capital works project, which we were looking for a council plan target of 90%, will be around about 74% of capital works completed by the end of the financial year. That's about 47 million, as I remember. That's nowhere near what it used to be, but as I say, we're operating on a very conservative budget at the moment, and I'm very happy to say so. In saying that, our liquidity, which is always a favourite of mine, we're tracking at about 155%, which is above the target band, and I think there's no reason to see why that won't go down, although, as always, the part of the current assets are included in the outstanding rates. I've been assured by our accounting department that those rates are pretty well on track, even though we've got some payment plans going. And I would say to the community that if you're finding it difficult at the moment to pay rates for any particular purpose or any particular reason, please come to our help desk at the council, and our friendly staff will put you onto the right people to see whether or not we can be of any help at all. So at the moment, we're holding $37 million in deposits. Most of those are in A1 Plus, which is the number one holding, and the balance is basically in A1. So our ratepayers can rest assured that the funds are pretty well invested. We are getting 5.08% return on our money. If we go back 12 months, we're lucky to get a 1% return. All in all, a conservative but favourable outlook in the finances going forward.
Very good. Thank you, Councillor Dobson. Councillor Abdullah, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Ms. Sally. I'll just make a couple of comments quickly. It appears to be a positive sign that the projected full-year deficit has reduced. But in fact, I would want to go beyond these numbers and would want to see the reasons behind some of these reductions. As this report illustrates, one of the reasons for this reduction is that materials and services and employee cost expenditure, they have reduced. And when we're talking about reduction in employee costs, basically it's about the current vacancies. So we have current vacancies, staff vacancies, and that's why that expense has reduced. And we know that when the staff is not there, it definitely impacts our services as well. So there is this connection between the reduction and and how it's impacting the actual level of services. The second point is that capital works, capital works projected capital work expenditure has also reduced, and the reasons behind this reduction are a few, and one of them is that some of the projects have been rebudgeted to the next financial year. So that's why the expenditure has reduced. That means these projects are not going to be delivered in this financial year. And the second positive aspect is, which I've just noted, is that the capital expenditure has reduced also because there has been a reduction against the October 2022 flood sealed road remediation program, and a reduction of $821,000 has been achieved, so which is a good sign. So all in all, it's good to see the reports, but we really need to understand what goes behind the numbers. So,
Very good. Thank you, Councillor Abdullah. Are there any councillors that would like to speak against the motion? Any councillors that would like to speak for the motion? Councillor Brophy.
Thank you, Mayor Sarley. Most of the residents that are sitting home watching this live stream get to see this month by month. We go through our financials, and it's always pretty important to us, but to them sitting out there, they're probably thinking, well, you know, for most residents, they're more concerned about, you know, what is their waste collection? Is that being done? How much do they have to pay in their rates? What do they get for that payment in the rates? Is their footpath even out the front, or is their roads maintained out there? That's what they're actually really thinking. Or, you know, is their local park safe for their kids to go and play in? And you know what, that's fair enough, because really that's what they should be focusing on. They have entrusted us as elected councillors, and obviously the regulatory bodies that fall in line with this, to oversee these details, to ensure that there is due diligence, free of corruption, free in fairness, being economically responsible in decision making, and for the betterment of the community all round. So it falls upon our responsibility to delve into these particular details, which we do at briefings, such as solvency, so liquidity ratios, and budget constraints and delegations. We need to do that. And I can tell you that, that the public, that debt that is being arrested is being done, and we look at, the easiest way to look at this is through our liquidity ratio, which is pretty high at the moment at 155%. And again, sitting out there at home, you go, well, what does that mean? What it actually means is that, you know, if things went belly up, can we cover our debts? And the simple answer is, yes, we can, by 155% of that. And we can, we can because we've put into measures in place, not only by our council finance team, which has done a great job, but also approved by councillors and council.
Very good, thank you, Councillor Brophy. Are there any other councillors that would like to speak to the motion? No, any closing comments, Councillor Dobson?
All been said, thank you, Mayor Sarley.
Very good. We will now go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried and opposed. Councillors, we now go to page 24 of the agenda, item 11.3, reappointment of independent members to the Audit and Risk Management Committee. There is a recommendation. Can I please have a councillor put that forward as a motion? Councillor Adam.
Thank you, Mayor Sarley. I'll move the motion on page 24 that the council endorse the reappointment of Goran Mitrevsky as chair to the Audit and Risk Management Committee for a further 12 months, expiring 31st of May 2025, and Stephen Coates as independent member to the Audit and Risk Management Committee for a further 3 years, expiring 30th of April 2027.
Thank you, Councillor Adam. Can I have a councillor second that motion, please? Councillor Brophy.
I second that motion.
Thank you. Councillor Adam, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you. Look, this is, I've said it before, and I think many councillors understand, this is most, if not the most important committee that this council has. The Audit and Risk Committee oversees pretty much all our operations, all of them, everything, and they have an opinion, and they give us guidance and feedback on what they see is happening or not happening. So it's extremely important. From all reports, Mr. Mitrevsky has done a great job over the last 12 months or so, and Stephen Coates as well as our independent member. My only hope is that in the very near future that we can actually meet these people, because I personally haven't met Mr. Mitrevsky or Mr. Coates. I know he's an independent member and he zooms in on some of the meetings, from what I understand. That being said, I look forward to meeting these people because I think it's hugely important that they are in control of the community. Like I said, it's very important to our whole operation, and I would like to get some more face-to-face time with these people in the future. But having said that, I fully endorse this.
Thank you, Councillor Adam. Councillor Brophy, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Sarley. Goran Mitrevsky is an incredible guy and has valued experience, has been on this particular committee since 2019, and chair for the last few years as well. Has extensive experience in risk management, internal and external audit, local government, fraud and corruption, compliance law, and boards and audit committees. and Stephen, again, in similar ones, but also in assurance, compliance and law, accounting, financial, and business continuity. Can I say that both with Goran and Stephen, in my time on this essential committee, are really the epitome of professionalism, of diligence. They're quizzical and they're very thorough with everything that they do. Each session that I have attended, I have learned an incredible amount from those members on the committee. And a special note of Goran's sturdy and very reflective leadership as well. I think Councillor Adam is absolutely spot on. This is probably one of the most important committees that we have, and to have good, strong leadership on that particular committee, make sure that the public feel really reassured that everything is checked by the book. And of course, the invitation has gone out to other councillors to tune into that particular meeting. So I'll let Councillor Adam know when the next meeting is on. I'd like to tune in and meet face to face over the screen at least. Face to face, maybe. Yeah, absolutely, wholeheartedly look forward to the reappointment of both those members.
Thank you, Councillor Brophy. Are there any councillors that would like to speak against the motion? Any councillors that would like to speak for the motion? Councillor James.
Thank you, Mayor Sally. Audit and Risk Management Committees are responsible for monitoring the overall risk management framework, the financial reporting processes and the compliance processes. There are three types of audit risks: the inherent risk, control risk and detection risk. These three factors are extremely important, as Councillor Adam and Councillor Brophy have pointed out, to any organisation to ensure the transparency, and where required, provide that evidence to support any discrepancies that may appear and occur throughout the organisation. It's very vital. These two members to be endorsed for the positions on the Council's Audit and Risk Management Committee are suitably qualified and experienced, gone through that process. They've been thorough. They've been been through a thorough and extensive appraisal process and have been engaged with Council respectively since 2021-22. I say this because I'm relatively new to that audit and risk process, having been involved in this process on at another organisation, and I absolutely find it enthralling that the importance of having that audit and risk committee management in place. So I appreciate their efforts of what they've done and how important it is to the organisation. So I fully support and endorse this recommendation. Thank you, Mayor Sally.
Thank you, Councillor James. Any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Councillor Summer.
Just reading through some minutes from this committee, and it really is impressive. They get into so much more detail than we would. We keep things quite high level, but these guys know their stuff. We entrust them with the functioning and legalities of this organisation, and I think it's in good hands. And I do hope we've considered succession planning, because I do believe there were some vacancies, and these are quite long-term positions. It's always healthy to switch things up a bit, but for the purposes of today, I do believe that this is a very good outcome.
Very good, thank you, Councillor Summer. Any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Just comments around this recommendation, and obviously it's already been highlighted that both Goran and Stephen are highly credentialed and tick every box that you would want and need to ensure that they're representing relevant needs from the Audit and Risk Committee. I mean, I've been involved in this for a little while now, and they are both exceptional operators. Goran, from a chair perspective, is a bloody good operator, is very, very good. We are very lucky to have him on board, and I tell him that after every session. And very good questions. It's good when the exec get questioned by Goran. It's good to be on the other side of it for a time being. So it's we're lucky to have them, both of them, and grateful to see them extended for a short time. But I do acknowledge what Councillor Summer said, that I have been thinking, you know, as much as we would love to have them on board, you know, forever, what does it mean if it gets to a point where they feel their time is up for whatever reason? So that it is a valid point, but we have gone through the process of some recent new members, and there are still many good people out there as well that want to be associated to this organisation and work very closely. So very supportive of both of them being endorsed, and obviously echo the very positive comments that have already been mentioned by my fellow councillors. Any closing comments, Councillor Adam?
No, thank you.
Councillors, we will now go to the vote. All those in favour? Opposed? Councillors, we now go to page 28 of the agenda, item 12.2, which is proposed sale of land, 45 Parkside Drive, Shepparton, Golden Valley Health and Victorian Health Building Authority proposals. There is a recommendation over 2 pages, councillors, on page 28 and 29. Can I please have someone put that forward as a motion? Councillor Summer.
Thank you. I'll move that the council, 1, note the conclusion of the community engagement process which was conducted under section 114 of the Local Government Act 2020. 2, receive and note the attached conversation report, proposed sale of land at 45 Parkside Drive, Department of Health and Golden Valley Health, February 2023, summarising and providing officer responses to all submissions received or heard in relation to the proposed sale of the 2 parcels of land at 45 Parkside Drive, Shepparton, to the Department of Health and Golden Valley Health respectively. 3, sell that part of the land at 45 Parkside Drive, Shepparton, marked red, 5,985 square metres approximately on the allotment plan, part of the land in certificate of title volume 11116 folio 382 by private treaty to the Victorian Government Department of Health for the purposes of an early parenting centre, and sell that part of the land at 45 Parkside Drive marked yellow, 7,761 square metres approximately on the allotment plan to Golden Valley Health for the purposes of staff accommodation. 4, both sales are to be on the following terms and conditions. A, the price for each sale shall be the market value of each parcel of land as determined by the Valuer General Victoria, having regard to the community benefit to be derived from each sale. B, settlement of each parcel will be conditional on registration of a plan of subdivision creating separate titles for each parcel. C, access prior to settlement for construction and social use may be granted to the purchasers under a lease, licence or other mechanism approved by the Chief Executive Officer. And D, each sale is to be conditional upon the purchaser completing appropriate due diligence in respect of each respective site. 5, authorise the Chief Executive Officer to sign all documentation and do all things necessary to complete the transactions with the Victorian Government Department of Health and Golden Valley Health. And 6, inform all submitters of Council's decision in relation to this matter and the reasons for the decision in each case.
Thank you, Councillor Summer. Can I have a councillor second that motion? Councillor Ladson. Second it?
Yeah, I'll accept that.
Thank you. Councillor Summer, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you. Councillors have gone over this in detail, and I believe that we are, most of us, if not all of us, are quite comfortable with the way that this has gone ahead. I do believe that it is an appropriate location for an early parenting centre. It is something that is very well needed within our region, and it will create positive health impacts for generations, not just for the day. There were some objections about the site, and that involved potentially not having access to places like coffee shops, but it's not exactly, it's more of a short-term centre, so having coffee options probably isn't the priority of this particular facility. I'm really excited about it, and I hope that the community are too. It's something that is a positive development, and it's going to have some good impacts.
Thank you, Councillor Summer. Councillor Ladson, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor Sally. I'll just read out the executive summary on page 29 of the agenda. On 27th September 2023, Council received an expression of interest from the Department of Health to purchase part of the land at 45 Parkside Drive, Shepparton. The land is intended to be used for the development of family health-related infrastructure on the site. Specifically, the sale will enable the Department of Health to deliver on the Victorian Government's commitment to deliver health infrastructure in Shepparton for a new early parenting centre, which will ensure parents are supported when it comes to sleeping, feeding and extra care for babies with additional needs. On 2nd November 2023, the Council received an expression of interest from Golden Valley Health, in brackets GV Health, to purchase part of the land at 45 Parkside Drive, Shepparton for the purposes of staff accommodation. 45 Parkside Drive is a vacant council-owned site that is part of the Parkside Gardens estate which was partly developed as a joint initiative between council and Vic Urban, in brackets now Places Victoria, in the early 2000s. The site is appropriately zoned for residential development. At the council meeting held on 21st of November 2023, council resolved, amongst other things, to undertake a community engagement process in relation to its intention to sell part of the land at 45 Parkside Drive, Shepparton, to the Victorian Government, in brackets Department of Health, by private treaty in accordance with the requirements of Section 114 of the Local Government Act 2020, in brackets the Act. The community engagement process took place over 4 weeks between Monday 27th November 2023 and 22nd of December 2023. Council received 9 submissions, and of those 9 submissions, 2 made verbal submissions, in brackets at those submitters' request, to council during the community engagement period. Council officers have provided responses to the submissions in the attached conversation report for council's consideration. Turn the page to page 30. Council officers consider the 2 proposals to be effective ways to improve health outcomes and social wellbeing for young babies and their families in Greater Shepparton, and provide much needed accommodation to attract and retain health services professionals in the region. This council report recommends that council resolve to sell a 5,985 metre squared lot approximately of 45 Parkside Drive, Shepparton, to the Department of Health to facilitate an early parenting centre, and sell a 7,761 square metre lot approximately to GV Health to facilitate staff accommodation on the terms and conditions specified in the recommendation. This proposal is groundbreaking stuff for Greater Shepparton, and it's desperately needed, and it just goes to show that GV Health are doing everything they can to support young families in our region. Thank you, Mayor Sally.
Thank you, Councillor Latson. Are there any councillors that would like to speak against the motion? Any councillors like to speak for the motion? Councillor Dobson.
Mayor Sally, bit of a history. This land was originally owned by council and was the site of the International Village many years ago, dug the moat and what have you. That really didn't come to fruition, and the council, in its wisdom at the time, decided to subdivide some of the land, which they did, and sold by private treaty to a number of private residential people. And the balance of the land, which is now part of this recommendation here, was left vacant. We've had a couple of goes at it. We looked at affordable housing, and we looked at some specific housing, but I think the mix that we've got here now is pretty good, because one, it gives a facility to the community which is required. And 2, as has been mentioned, that some of the Gold Valley Hospital, as I call it, GV Health, requires some hostel accommodation for nurses. I mean, there are a lot of nurses required around the Goulburn Valley, and the biggest drawback is that we can't find accommodation. So the sale of this land to both of those organisations, and there's still land left over, will mean that we'll achieve a hell of a lot. There is land still left after that, and I would like to see, and I've said this publicly before, but I'd like to see whoever buys the balance of the land fits in somehow to this, if this proposal goes ahead, somehow to this style of operation. And I've got a couple of operations in mind, which we won't mention at the moment, but it is a good parcel of land. As others have said, there has been objections, and well-documented objections, but I think that the proposal that we've got here overrides any objection. The other part of it to the council is that whatever price we get for the land, and that's yet to be determined, and the sale is subject to that valuation, will be at market rates. It's not as if we're giving the land away to anybody. We're going to give market value. So if the sale proceeds, we can then allocate that money into some other worthwhile cause, yet to be determined. And I think it'll be a win-win for the whole of the community. There are a few things, a few hurdles. For example, there's got to be the right valuation, and you've got to go through the normal legalities. But I do hope that not only will this council adopt this recommendation, but I hope that the community will come to see that this is a fantastic acquisition, or will be a fantastic acquisition for not only Shepparton, but for the whole of the community. What it's going to be used for, I'll let others speak about that, because I don't have a lot of expertise in that, but I do wholeheartedly agree with the recommendation.
Councillor Dobson. Are there any other councillors that would like to speak for the motion? Councillor Abdullah.
Thank you, Ms. Ali. I support this motion, and I support the motion for the sale of parcel of land Drive to GV Health to build accommodation for their professional staff, hospital staff. And of course, the accommodation facility is very crucial for attracting and retaining health professionals, as our region's lack of accommodation and housing is currently a known barrier. So as Councillor Fansama has also highlighted, this is a well-needed facility. So no issues there. As for the sale of land for an early parenting center to Department of Health, I acknowledge that some community members and stakeholders raised concerns about the site's suitability for this facility and for an early parenting center. And as we know that a strong advocacy campaign for a mother and baby unit was launched in Shepparton many years ago by the community and other service providers and stakeholders. And finally, thanks to the efforts of the former Member Parliament Shepparton, Susanna Sheed, that funding was allocated in the 2022 state budget for this early parenting center. And it took nearly 2 years to get to this point of site selection. So I just want to highlight that it is important to note that the decision on the site for an early parenting center lies with the Department of Health and not with this council. And additionally, the Victorian Health Building Authority is going to oversee the construction of the facility. And as we have been advised by the Department of Health that this current early parenting center model of care, it's slightly different from the mother and baby unit model. So while a mother and baby unit is more for mothers and babies, the early parenting center, it focuses on providing support to families, parents and carers of new parents with additional needs and to help them adjust to their new routines. So while the site may not perfectly align with the criteria that some stakeholders had advocated for in case of a mother and baby unit, this site does meet the criteria set by the Victorian Health and Health Building Authority for an early parenting center. There are differences in the model, hence there is a difference in the criteria for the site, as I understand after speaking to the department and during one of the briefings that council had. And at this point, I also feel that perhaps the advocacy for a mother and baby unit needs to continue for Greater Shepparton, because that need is still there, and this facility is not entirely going to address that need. And lastly, it is important to acknowledge that while stakeholder consultations and community engagement by the Department of Health for this site selection could have been better, the need for such a facility definitely outweighs the perceived imperfections of the site. In other words, it is better to have a functional option now rather than waiting for a few more years. And as we all say that, something is better than nothing. So I'm pleased. But I believe that if the motion proceeds, the outcome is going to benefit the whole community. So yeah, so based on the information that is provided, based on the briefings that the council had with the department and the Victorian Health Building Authority, I am satisfied that we can go ahead with the sale of this land.
Very good. Thank you, Councillor Abdullah. Any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Councillor Brophy.
Thank you, Mayor Saley. Look, I have given this proposal great consideration, and it really does tick most of the boxes. It is warranted, it is needed, and it is located in a supportive residential area. And it is has the sound backing academically, professionally and economically from GV Health. There are some logistical considerations around the safety barriers because there's close by water allotments there. Also, dual road access points may need to be considered, and they will be considered in this particular process. As pointed out, we are not giving this parcel of land away. We will be selling it at a market price, and it's going to be to a community beneficiary and to a service to all of our residents. With virtually nil objections from local residents at this point, the only objections laid squarely on the table is regarding the location of the said facility. And whilst I more than greatly respect those who formed an advisory and working committee to bring this to fruition to somewhat, to make really better early childhood supports and for mother-baby units, I can concur that a more central CBD location would have been preferable. Indeed, if a site of this particular or equal squareage could be found in the CBD, I would wholeheartedly support it, but that's not the case. Those who have spoken to us and pretty much the objectors really do understand the needs of the community in this essential health space. And I agree with what most of them have said. They are professional advocates in early childhood services, and when they speak, I do listen to them. However, in the absence of a better nominated location, is it better to have a facility than no facility, as Mr. just pointed out there? I will support the sale of this land for the early parenting centre and for an allotment plan to the GB Health for the purposes of a staff accommodation, which is essential. At the same time, I urge GB Health and the state government to work alongside those members of that steering committee for a mother-baby or a parent-child day stay as well, to align with the early parenting centre. It is imperative that this coexists in relationships and fundamentals to advocate strongly for what that steering committee was initially setting up to do. In simple terms today, however, it is not necessarily our role to dictate the service that will be provided, but rather to facilitate the sale of the land, to which, after careful consideration, I agree we should.
Thank you, Councillor Brophy. Any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Councillor Spinks.
Thank you, yes. I just want to echo a lot of the comments that have already been made, but to put my support behind this motion and this development. I think this is a win-win-win-win for our community. The sale of the land will provide financial benefits to council and the flow on to community. It is a financially sound decision to use this land in this way. The development of the early parenting centre is a proven successful model in other locations and in similar environments within those locations, being residential areas. So it's not something that's new or unique and has proven benefit to communities. It's something that we know will benefit our new families and our new parents in supporting their needs as they, the term Councillor Abdullah got used to their new routines. It is certainly a transitional phase in life, and all the support is important. So this will be of great benefit to our community from a health and a family perspective. As well, the provision of land for Goulburn Valley Health to provide accommodation for their staff, not only nurses, but all health staff, is essential. We know that Goulburn Valley Health and just the health sector in general are undergoing huge challenges in being able to attract and retain staff. And we know that one of the core reasons for that is a lack of housing available in our community. It's not something just seen in Shepparton, but it's certainly impacting us really strongly here. And this ability to provide additional housing to meet those needs and to address those challenges is really important. And will be of great benefit to our community. So being able to have a location that is nearby to Goulburn Valley Health and being able to provide that accommodation not only benefits our health sector, which is important, but brings new people to our communities as well, which again, sees flow on benefits to our communities and our neighbourhoods, to our schools, to our businesses. Just continues to bring new people to our community, which we need and want. And as well, being able to continue to develop the Parkside Gardens estate is essential. We have discussed this quite a lot over the past few years as we've seen different developments proposed and unsuccessful, but this neighbourhood at Parkside Gardens, we know, was a development that began and then stalled and then has been sitting in limbo for many, many years. We know that community wants to be developed, and to have this sort of development being proposed is a wonderful win for bringing new life and vibrancy to that community. And I think it's important to note as well that council is considering that neighbourhood holistically, looking at what the rest of that development is going to look like, the remaining parcel of land, continuing to consider affordable housing as an option, and residential housing, and any other proposals that might come to the table. And I also recognise that from the submissions that were received, some of the concerns that were raised being around whether it was a lack of local coffee options or the lack of public transport options, I argue that those are challenges and barriers that that whole of community is experiencing, and that we need to address, regardless of this particular proposal, barriers that that community deserves at large. So we need to keep addressing those and make sure that we're looking at it holistically at what that entire community and neighbourhood looks like in the north of Shepparton. So I note that there may be challenges experienced with that location, but they're challenges that we need to address regardless of whether this was to go ahead or not. And also just finally noting that the, very much echoing what's been said before, but the discomfort, I suppose, that was raised through the submissions of the centre not being suitable at that location, but then being able to understand the purpose of this centre not being the purpose of the mother and baby unit that is being advocated for, was allowed me to sit comfortably with that the purpose of the early parenting centre will fit in this location and will be of benefit to our community, and that this now, you know, newly gained knowledge of the baby and mother and baby centre that so much advocacy has gone into, I feel like almost breathe fresh life into that, in allowing us all that better understand that advocacy, and that advocacy that needs to continue. So that is an important project, and those submissions were well placed, but to be able to support this today and to move ahead with this particular proposed use of the land, I think is of benefit in its own right, and is something that I'm very happy to support today. So again, win, 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 win. I think it's just going to be wonderfully beneficial to our community in many ways.
Right, thank you, Councillor Spinks. Any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Mr. Adam.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Sally. Thank you to all the other councillors who have taken all the words from my pages, every single one. So I will be brief and just to reiterate everything that was said. But I want to make a special note that we presented with health professionals telling us how important this project is, and we all agree it is, absolutely, without doubt. But the objectors were also health professionals as well, so they weren't just random people off the street objecting to traffic in that area or anything like that. They were also health professionals that have been in the game for a long time, and they were not objecting to the concept, obviously not, because they were actually the drivers of the whole concept, some of these people, but to the site in respect to its convenience for the actual user. But we all feel comfortable, I do comfortable enough that that can be overcome, as Councillor Spinks said, with further development down the track. I just want to refer to the actual conditions. If this gets adopted here today, which I'm assuming it will, there's a few conditions here that need to be met. One is the settlement of each parcel will be conditional on registration of a plan of subdivision creating separate titles for each parcel. So I presume that needs to happen prior to the settlement, but also as a positive, I suppose, access prior to settlement for construction, social use may be granted to the purchaser under a lease license or other mechanism approved by the CEO. So even prior to settlement, this can move ahead. Am I correct in saying that? Yes?
Would you like clarification on that?
From the CEO, if that's possible.
I'll just seek clarification from the Director of Sustainability, but I'm assuming that is a yes.
I didn't quite hear all of the last bit.
It's point C. Access prior to settlement for construction and social use may be granted to the purchasers under a lease license or other mechanism approved by the CEO. That's it?
Yes.
That's correct. So even prior to this being settled, so prior to us getting paid, they can still start construction.
That's right, and that's not uncommon.
I'm not saying it isn't, I'm just saying that was a positive, actually. I highlighted that as being a positive. So it gets the project moving without all the mechanisms of settlement prior to that. So that all said, I support it.
Very good, thank you, councillor Adam. Any other councillors like to speak to the motion? James?
Thank you, Mayor Sally. This is such a positive and proactive proposal with so many advantages for our community. The Department of Health and Golden Valley Health need to be congratulated on this initiative, this early parenting centre. It's so needed in our community, and you know, and as I said when the briefings was explained to us, I said I'd like to have 4 of these located right throughout our community. They're so needed, and they're so they have great potential too as well for strengthening that family bond under that. You know, in my culture, that birth to death, that nurturing, loving, caring. There's planned to improve health outcomes, and that's really essential from that early childhood development stages. But the well-being for young babies and their parents is really vital too as well, and bridging that bond, that all-important bond of a mother and father and child and family relationship. And that this facility is needed, it's essential, you know, the essential needs of the important development, caring, nurturing, as I've mentioned, is really imperative. This is not only that, but it's a smart economical decision this council's made too as well in regards to usage of land and also improving great economical outcomes, which will benefit our community and our ratepayers in this town too as well. And I think that that's a good position and will set the precedent for great outcomes for this council to look at as we move forward too as well. And I think it's a great and a positive outcome, and congratulations to both the developers and everyone involved in this program. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, councillor James. And just really quickly, it's been obviously acknowledged that this is a really positive outcome, although not perfect, and I don't think we would expect it to be perfect, but I think our core responsibility is to facilitate good outcomes, and that is one that's here in front of us now. And that parcel of land, in my opinion, it's utilised. It's a prominent location, connected to key services. You know, this is the things we should be looking at. You know, we've got many assets that fall under our council umbrella, and a lot of really underutilised. And I feel this is the start of something that we should be progressing in all aspects to achieve good outcomes. We get not only a really good social return, but a financial return as well. And we support the Department of Health and obviously GB Health to go with it as well. So really, really positive step in obviously finalising this. Now, it hasn't been said yet, and should acknowledge Geraldine and her team that behind the scenes, you know, had these negotiations with those relevant departments, plenty of briefing sessions, plenty of work that goes on. And it's on the back of what we'd already started at Parkside Drive a little while ago. So a lot of work's gone into this by the time it gets to the table here for us to consider. So fingers crossed that there's no further hurdles, and we progress and the shovel hits the ground soon. And collectively as a council, we've achieved a really good outcome with an asset that's been sitting stagnant for some time. So well done. Councillor Summer, any closing comments?
Thank you, Mayor Sally. I just wanted to reiterate pretty much every single point that went around the table just then. It was great to hear that. Everyone has a different perspective. Me personally, it may not be in the CBD, but this particular location does have a lot of positives. It's quiet, it's close to nature. It has the Bangarang Cultural Centre just around the corner. And I want to thank staff for bringing the project representatives to us so that we could ask further questions after hearing some of the concerns. It turns out that the built structure itself is quite mobile inside, so that it can be quite inclusive to cultures. Doors can open up so that it accommodates full kinship if that's required, which is just wonderful. It definitely does include fathers as well as mothers. Yes, I think perhaps councillors suggested that there be closer consultation with some of the people who began this project, and I really think they should be acknowledged for the stepping stones that they put in place for this to actually happen. I don't believe there'll be any red flags moving forward, and if there are, we can always advocate. No, I'm just going to stop.
Yeah, okay, very good. Councillors, we'll now go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried, unopposed. Councillors, we now go to page 39 of the agenda, item 13, confidential management reports, nil received. Item 14, documents for signing and sealing, nil received. Page to page 40, item 15.1.1, councillor activities, February 2024. There is a recommendation. Can I please have a councillor put that forward as a motion? Councillor Dobson.
I'll move that recommendation. Mayor Sally. I'll tell you in a minute. Council activities that the council receive and note the summary of council's community interactions and informal meetings of councillors.
Councillor Dobson, can I have a councillor second that motion, please? That's
Seconded.
I'll second that motion, Mayor Sally.
Thank you. Councillor Dobson, would you like to speak to the motion?
Not really. Mayor Sally, I think it's all there for everybody to see. Been another busy year, another busy month.
Very good. Thank you, Councillor Dobson. Councillor Latson, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, thank you, Mayor Sally.
Very good. Any councillors like to speak against the motion? Any councillors like to speak for the motion?
Oh.
Councillor Summer,
Against the motion?
you've already had your time, mate. Unfortunately, sorry. Councillor Summer, you're speaking for the motion.
For the motion, thank you.
Or against, which one would you like?
Definitely for the motion. I think it's a very transparent exercise to do this in the way that we have, because it specifically spells out exactly who went where, and it's clear that the mayor has been super duper busy, and so have all the councillors, because it actually extends over 4 pages. It shows how diverse our community are. We've got Emperor of Japan birthday celebrations to show and shines and GB Pride balls, all the things. It doesn't necessarily mean that council has financially supported these events in any way, but it does show that councillors are out and about learning, and every time we attend something anywhere, we learn something new, and that's the point. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Summer. Any other? Sorry.
Oh, well said, I was.
Very good. Any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Councillor Spinks.
Yeah, apologies, I know we're about to wrap up, but I actually do want to just take a moment to recognise a couple of the things. I'm really enjoying this new layout of how we've put it in the agenda, if anyone's reading it, of being able to see the things and being able to reflect on them. So I just want to highlight a couple of the things that I was involved in. I want to highlight the councillors training that we all undertook, understanding inclusivity for LGBTIQA+ people. That was an important training that we all did, and just better being able to understand a part of our community and the way that council interacts with and serves the community, which is really all of us. But it's also recognition of our commitment to ongoing learning and ongoing development of our skills and understanding about and for our community. We are all committed to being the best councillors that we can be, and ongoing training and development is an important part of that. I also want to highlight just the River Connect committee meeting, just because that particular meeting was the last meeting with Alison Trethowan, and I want to thank her really greatly for her work that she's done in the River Connect committee meeting and her role with River Connect. She was a true force to be reckoned with and is a great loss to council, but I know is off doing wonderful pursuits, and I thank her for her time with council. And then the third one I just want to highlight is the Crazy Ideas College Shepparton Social Innovators pitch event. I went along to that with Councillor Brophy, and I don't know about you, but I didn't really know what I was getting into. And we all got sat down as a panel while a bunch of young people pitched their crazy ideas to us, and there was nothing crazy about them at all. They were absolutely brilliant. And all of those young people, who I believe were year 9 and 10 age, I think, truly know what our communities need, what they want to see for the future. Like, young people are the future, and they were right in front of us asking for our feedback, and there was only positive, shining things to say. So I just I want to highlight those because they were important and they were special. But again, echoing what Councillor Summer said, the diversity of the things we get to be involved in and get to go to. Our community do incredible things, and it's an honour and a privilege. I'm sure I speak on behalf of all of us to say that we get invited to these things and get to go along. So, yeah, I'll finish there, but thank you.
Very good, thank you, councillor Smith. Other councillors like to speak to the motion? Councillor James.
Thank you, Mayor Scully. I just wanted to point out that one of our councillors sitting here today with us has just completed the Australian Institute of Company of Directors course, Councillor Adam. Just to say congratulations and thank him for commitment to that. We had Councillor Brophy complete that last year as well, and also I think Councillor Summer.
I have, yeah.
As so it just basically reiterates the strength and wisdom experience of our councillors.
And Councillor Abdullah.
And Councillor Abdullah, my apologies, Councillor Abdullah, I didn't know that. But it just tells you, speaks highly of, you know, the councillors itself and what they bring to this, the council as well. So I know for a fact that I was interested in doing that. When I looked what was committed and involved in it, I turned away from it. So I congratulate them sticking to that too as well. But it just, that's the strength of this council too as well. And congratulate Councillor Adam, Councillor Summer, Councillor Abdullah and Councillor Brophy as well.
Very good, councillor James. Any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Very good. Any closing comments, councillor Dobson?
Just like to thank you. I'd just like to add my name to the Australian Institute of Company Directors, but mine was about 10 years ago, but it is worthwhile. I recommend it to you, Councillor James, to further your career in the big wide world. Thank you, Mayor Summer.
Sound advice. Thank you, councillors. We will now go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried and opposed. We go to the last page, page 44, item 16, notice of motion, amendment or rescission or received. 17, urgent business. And I don't think there's any last minute. Item 18, close of meeting, which I will do now at 4:11 p.m. Thank you and good afternoon.